Mourning is the price we pay for having the courage to love. Even in grief, we know that the wonder of human life is too complex and too magnificent to be memorialized in unending pain. The gifts that we receive through loving cannot be measured and they cannot be weighed. They cannot be lost, and they do not tarnish with time. Even in our darkest seasons, we know that the light and warmth of love endure. We lovingly honor Kendall Ross, joining our hearts together to bolster comfort and strength for all who cherished him so deeply. We remember him for his generosity of spirit, his creativity, his kindness, his vision, and for the way that he loved those around him. We create a sacred space here this afternoon. This is a Jewish service, and Kendall had a Jewish wedding. And I had the privilege of working with Kendall and Lily on their wedding, and I asked him one of the first times we met, I said, "Do you want a Jewish wedding?" And he said, "I want one because Lily wants one." So here we are, to memorialize him in a Jewish way. Through poetry, through Jewish sacred text, and by lifting up memories of Kendall, binding his beautiful life deeper and deeper into our hearts and minds. We begin first with the words of Psalm 23, sung in Hebrew, and then offered in English. Adonai roi lo echsar, bin ot deshe yarbitzeni, al mei menuchot, yenaleni. Nafshi Yishovev, Yancheni v'magelei tzedek, Yancheni v'magelei tzedek, Lema'an shemo. Gam kilech begetz al mavet, lo irara ki ata imadi, shivtecha umishantecha, hema yenachamuni. Ta'aroch lefanai, shulchan neged sorerai, dishanta vashemen roshi, kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni, kol yemei chayai, kol yemei chayai, v'shavti beveit Adonai, leorech yamim. Adonai roi lo echsar, Adonai roi lo echsar. With God as my shepherd, I shall not want. The Eternal makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside the still waters, restores my soul, guides me in straight paths for the sake of God's name. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Eternal forever.
The words of Rabbi Chaim Stern. It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch. A fearful thing to love, hope, dream, to be and oh to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your taught once lifted me, your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing, to love what death has touched. In the world of music, there is one symphony which is quite different from all the rest. The conventional symphony has 3, 4, or perhaps 5 movements. But there is a symphony that has only one movement. The reason is that composer Franz Schubert never finished it. Schubert wrote the first movement, put it away in his drawer, and before he could finish it, he died. Hence its name, the Unfinished Symphony. Though Franz Schubert did not have the privilege of finishing his symphony, the entire world is richer in that it possesses this wonderful piece of music. For despite the fact that it breaks off before it is complete, it is nonetheless a masterpiece. An unfinished life is in many ways like an unfinished symphony. There is a feeling of deep regret that we are not privileged to have seen that life lived to its fullest. At the same time, we feel that it is far better to have had the few years granted us than to have had nothing at all. The passing of Kendall leaves us devastated at the thought of the unfinished years, but grateful for the wonderful memories of a life that was nonetheless a masterpiece.
We'll now hear a series of eulogies of words and memories shared with great love. First, we'll hear from Lily, and then Neil, then Corey, Gabby, and Drake.
When trying to decide whether or not I was going to speak today, my mind kept going back to the day of our wedding. We had just finished the ceremony and we were walking back down the aisle, and I thought we were going to go into the house to have a moment of peace and privacy, but Kendall had other plans. He took my hand and pulled me toward the back of the tent. He and his best man and friend. surprised me by performing an Ed Sheeran song and stood in front of all of our friends and family. So if he could muster up the courage to do that, surely I can stand up in front of all of our loved ones and share my love for him. Sorry. Ooh. I've had many conversations with my immediate family while I was in the hospital about how I thought my version of Kendall was a secret. His larger-than-life personality, his exceptional knowledge of, well, everything, his shoot-for-the-stars mentality, and the way he loved so very deeply. As my dad read me tributes written about him, I quickly learned that the Kendall I knew and loved was not a secret at all, and that was a huge relief. Turns out he had made a massive impact on his friends and family, chefs, colleagues from all over the world, and real estate peers too. And how lucky am I to have had a front row seat to Kendall's big life these past 5+ years. His ambition and creativity were almost overwhelming at times. He would pace back and forth around our house as he shared ideas, hopes, and his dreams. He wasn't afraid of a challenge and inspired me to step out of my comfort zone. Kendall would often call back to his favorite Marcus Aurelius quote that he had mounted on his office wall: "The obstacle is the way." It was this type of thinking that helped us take on real estate challenges. We traveled around the world and we dreamed big. I could stand here for hours and list all the reasons why I love Kendall. For time's sake, I have picked my favorite thing. His capacity to love was unbelievable. The way he cared for me was everything. He told me shortly after we got engaged that he was really afraid of commitment for so long, but once he made a decision, it was the easiest thing in the world. My chronic health issues took up a lot of my energy. But instead of feeling exasperated by the situation, he took that challenge head on. He found me the best doctors and treatments, and most importantly, he taught me how to advocate for myself. I will always be amazed by the way he embraced my family. I never had to beg him to attend a family event or holiday. He was always excited and would bring the most complicated dish. My sister and best friend Isabel picked on Kendall a lot, and he gave it back to her without hesitation. And that's how they showed their love. He loved my parents with his whole heart. Anytime something good, bad, or neutral happened, he would call my dad and share it with him. They shared a love of pepperoni pizza. My mom and Kendall connected in the kitchen. She offered him unconditional love, and he reciprocated consistently. I wish I didn't have to be here. I miss Kendall with my whole heart, and I always will. Thank you all for being here to celebrate the amazing person that he is, and it means the world to me, and I know it would have meant everything to him.
supposed to follow that. Before I speak about Kendall, I first want to say thank you to everyone here today and in our lives. The love and support that Lily and our family have received is truly beyond imagination. People have given of themselves in so many ways, and we are so truly thankful. If we don't get to tell everyone directly, please know we have felt you and we appreciate you. I'm not sure how we could have done this without you. I also spent the last week debating whether or not to speak today. I frankly did not think that I could relay my feelings about Kendall without breaking down. I decided I would be short and try and power through. Ultimately, I wanted our love for Kendall to be spoken, even if it is hard to say here today. The truth is, we really have to thank Lily today. She brought the gift of Kendall into our lives. We didn't realize it at first. Some say that entry into our family can be intimidating. I don't see that, but it could be true. Kendall was very quiet and shy around us for a while. Once he found a comfort level, he just fit right in. He and Lily spent so many hours sprawled out on our couch like they owned the place. We felt so fortunate to be able to have the kids in our lives, even as they were making a life of their own together. I could go on all day about Kendall's attributes: handsome, funny, kind, positive, uplifting, eager to learn, voracious reader, gym rat, hard worker, teacher, ambitious, passionate, loving husband, darn fine chef. I really cannot imagine how Lily found someone so suited to her needs and personality. Whatever was Lily's challenge at the moment, Kendall was there, researching solutions, giving a pep talk, or pushing Lily to be her best self. I think that as good as Kendall was, Lily was too instrumental in helping him develop from young man to full-fledged man. When Kendall and I were getting to know each other 5 years ago, it was around that time that his dad, Jim, was in the beginning stages of dementia. Kendall was so sad about his dad. Every time he would visit Jim, their conversations had become so limited. I think that our relationship came at the perfect time. I felt as if I had become a stand-in for Jim, to be the dad that could listen. It sounds so trite, but I do feel like he was the son that we never had. As Lily continues her miraculous recovery, we feel so fortunate. We all feel that Kendall is watching over her, making sure that she is still finding all the right help and making all the best decisions so that she can make the most of her second chance at life. We will be forever grateful for his presence in our lives.
And Corey.
Well, I haven't been up here since my bar mitzvah. Luckily, I get to do this one in English. Kendall was a rare gem in this world, a person who never judged anyone, but rather embraced everyone with open arms and an open heart. His acceptance and understanding created a space where we felt comfortable being ourselves without fear of rejection or criticism. Kendall had a remarkable gift of making each person he encountered feel valued and appreciated, whether it was through a simple smile, a comforting word, or a heartfelt gesture. Kendall had an uncanny ability to brighten our days and remind us of the beauty that exists in each and every one of us. What truly set Kendall apart was his contagious energy. He had an electrifying presence that could light up even the darkest room. His laughter was infectious. His enthusiasm for life was inspiring. He encouraged us to step outside of our comfort zones, to embrace the unknown, and to live life to the fullest. With Kendall by our side, we felt invincible, ready to take on any challenge that came our way. Kendall and Lily invited me to their house for dinner a few months before their wedding. After a meal, they surprised me with a cookie cake for dessert. Initially, I thought it said "Best Mom" and had a question mark after it. I thought it was a little weird, but didn't think about it too hard. I just assumed the price was marked down due to a mistake in the icing. And we all know Kendall loved a good deal. So, it was then that Kendall and Lily had to point out to me that the cake actually read "Best Man." I was left speechless, holding back tears of joy, grateful and in disbelief that he wanted me standing next to him on the biggest day of his life. To me, Kendall was more than just a best friend. He was a brother I had always longed for. He was a constant source of support and a shoulder to lean on during the ups and downs of life. Kendall was there for me through the thick and thin, offering guidance, love, and unwavering loyalty. He believed in me when I doubted myself, and he pushed me to be the best version I could be. The bond we shared was unbreakable, and the memories we created together will forever be etched in my heart. Let us remember him for the incredible person he was. Let us celebrate his genuine spirit, his ability to see the beauty in others, and the contagious energy he brought to every room. Kendall may no longer be physically present, but his impact on our lives will continue to shine brightly. He's left a lasting mark on our souls, reminding us to be kind, to love fiercely, and to embrace life with open arms. Thank you for being the brother I always wanted, and the friend I'll remember forever.
Gabby.
I must say, I feel very Gen Z being the only one who did not print what I was going to say. I did think about it, but I was running late. In my favorite memory with Kendall, it's my 3rd grade picture day. I'm wearing a denim jacket with denim straight leg jeans. Kendall's wearing a black windbreaker with yellow stripes. It's spring, and our 3 dogwood trees are encroaching the porch. We're outside waiting for someone to come out of the house, I'm not sure who. While we wait, Kendall starts launching himself off of the brick steps to see how many leaves he can touch. We make a game out of it. When you touch the leaves, the whole tree shakes. It doesn't sound like much, but it's pretty fun. Kendall, however, is in the 5th grade, and he's able to do this with much more ease. But he wants me to get there too. I'm jumping, I'm missing, I'm changing steps, I'm getting close, I'm touching the tips of the leaves. But of course, he's saying it doesn't count because the tree isn't shaking. I go again, I do not make my landing. I cry because that's what I do. I'm a crier. Kendall gets scolded. The game is over. We all go to school. It's a simple memory, but I really love it. I can still feel how happy I was. I wasn't allowed to do what Kendall was doing. I was too small, but he always included me anyway. A lot of my memories with Kendall are like this. He's always there, pushing and guiding me. Here's some of my favorite advice. Don't go anywhere. Live with mom and dad and only eat ice cubes. Become an Uber driver for the airport between the hours of 3 and 7 a.m. Become a realtor. Join Orange Theory and sell everybody a house. Become a full-time phlebotomist technician and part-time restaurant server. Come be his administrative assistant at Wagon Wheel Properties. I actually did some cold calling for this, and he never paid me. Last year, I was writing a speech to share at Kendall's wedding. I started off by saying how I was fortunate to be a little sister. I ended with a toast, cheers to making new memories. You know, at first, thinking about the loss made me sad. But then, sharing memories we would have had was nice and made me feel like we could still have them. So I wanted to share with you some memories I was looking forward to. Kendall, if you would have lived, you would have found and flipped the perfect house for me. You would have walked me down the aisle and said something nice about me at the wedding. Our kids would have been close together in age, and I imagine we would have taken turns babysitting on date nights. We would have finally had that fancy dinner together that we always talked about. The next quote is from Bluey, because I think dogs are very wise. He was my friend. Sometimes special people come into our lives, stay for a bit, and then they have to go. But that's sad. It is. But the bit where they were here was happy, isn't it? When I got the call from Neil, I had just watched Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. And that's what it is. When I close my eyes, we're jumping off the porch. Kendall is at the piano, singing love song. We're taking pictures at Gladys's wedding. Landon is holding our hand and walking us to his play closet. He's sitting baby Lily on his motorcycle. He's holding Logan for the first time. We're at his wedding, and he's putting his arm around me like a side hug, and he's proudly saying, "This is my little sister." It is needless to say that Kendall was as good of a big brother as he was a little brother, son, uncle, husband, and friend. I love my brother. I love who he is. I love who he was. And I love who he would have been.
And finally, Drake.
Good afternoon, everyone. When I got the text from Neil asking if I wanted to speak today, a wave of emotions rushed over me. First, my intense fear of public speaking, followed closely by my intense love for Kendall. Of course, telling Neil no was never an option, so today I'm channeling Kendall for strength. Specifically, that time he grabbed the mic and belted out Ed Sheeran to Lily on their wedding day. Kendall, please give me some of that energy. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Drake. Kendall and I met through a real estate mastermind a couple years ago, and I remember my first impression clear as day. Wow, this dude is borderline obsessive. Strike that, this dude is all the way obsessive. Passionate, animated, like a talking encyclopedia. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Turns out my first impression was spot on, but what I didn't realize at the time was that Kendall would become the best friend I've ever had. My first instinct when sketching out my thoughts for today was to list all of Kendall's impressive accomplishments. They're all wildly impressive, from the chef world to the real estate world. But what is way more impressive than his list of stats is how Kendall made people feel, how he made me feel. I grew up a loner. I still kind of am a loner. I suffer from pretty intense anxiety and bouts of depression. I choose to stay quiet because when I talk, I miss the mark. I see it on people's faces we're not on the same page, that they don't get or don't care to get what I'm struggling to communicate, but not with Kendall. With Kendall, I'd share an idea or something new I'd learned, and his eyes would light up. With Kendall, all those negative feelings disappeared, he understood me, and I wasn't alone after all. Our friendship was a series of deep dive conversations that would last hours. We'd go down rabbit holes on real estate and business building, health and fitness, and all the vulnerable struggles we were battling along the way. I'd hear something cool on a podcast and hit him up immediately, but it was Kendall, so of course he'd already read 3 books, watched 12 YouTube videos, and set automated text reminders to ingrain what he learned into his memory. Let the nerding out begin. And we'd usually do our deep dives in the weirdest locations because, again, Kendall, like the hole-in-the-wall Hispanic grocery store that serves sandwiches in the back, or the hoarder house walkthrough where we searched for treasures under 3 years' worth of cat poop. We leave with that energizing feeling of having learned something new with someone who gets you. Or in the case of the hoarder house, we leave with a $1,200 printer and another vacuum cleaner to add to Kendall's impressive collection. Sorry, Lily. But even cooler than all of that was what Kendall showed me. He showed me what kind of person I want to be. The kind who celebrates his friends' wins harder than his own. The kind who takes the red-eye flight so he doesn't miss getting a mani-pedi with me on the morning of my wedding day. The kind who refuses to believe the doctors who tell his wife there's nothing wrong, then researches for months to discover the rare disease that's truly plaguing her. That is the type of person Kendall was, and I'm so proud to have known that man. Lily, Kendall could not have loved you more. From the moment you slid into his DMs, he was yours. He's still with you behind every moment of strength, love, joy, and beauty. I know he is, and he always will be. As we celebrate Kendall today and every day, we can choose to live a life that honors him. We can choose to follow our curiosity, to be obsessed, to love deeply, and to live fully. Thank you.
The late psychologist James Hillman described what he called the acorn theory in his mid-90s New York Times bestselling book, The Soul's Code, in search of character and calling. Hillman argues that we cannot reduce a human life to a simple interplay of our genetic makeup and the environment in which we exist. An individual is more, he thought, than simply the product of nature versus nurture. This acorn theory states that just as an acorn contains within it all of the matter necessary to grow to a massive oak tree, so too does a human being contain within themselves the potential to become something that they are individually designed to become. The process of growing this oak tree, becoming the person one is meant to become, is what gives meaning and purpose to life. According to Hillman, for that is what is lost in so many lives and what must be recovered, a sense of personal calling, that there is a reason that I am alive. Concealed within the shell of the unassuming acorn is the potential for a mighty oak. Concealed within each person is the potential to become uniquely who they are meant to be. The potential of our lives is concealed, and only through our self-actualization is what is possible for us revealed, if only we are brave enough to allow our roots to spread, our branches to reach out, and our leaves to unfurl. Kendall's potential was limitless. He was kind and generous, giving freely of himself, his time, his talents. He was intelligent, bright, and well-read, consuming information, an autodidact, and a Renaissance man who could learn anything he chose to pursue. He was a visionary, and others believed in his many ideas and dreams because he was so trustworthy, but also because he was convincing. He could talk you into anything. He even talked Lily into learning to drywall. He was a cheerleader and a champion for others who helped people to see the potential in themselves that he so readily accessed in himself. He was brave, bold, and he was curious about the world and about people. And that inherent curiosity, that burned inside of him, enabled him to listen deeply and allow others to feel seen and heard. He gave everyone the benefit of the doubt. He assumed good intentions and that good was possible in each moment. Who he was transformed those around him. And for a man who was all of this, all of what we've heard today, all of what we each know him to have been, for a man who was all of this, he was so humble. The day he married Lily was the best day of his life. He knew how lucky he was when the stars aligned exactly the right way to bring them together. And Lily, you shared with me that the moment that the DJ announced you to enter the party at the reception, he said, "This is the most special I've felt in my entire life." It is a great testament to your love story that simply being together, surrounded by friends and family, was the peak of experiences. In his Tales of the Hasidim, Martin Buber famously tells us of a rabbi named Zusia. And on his deathbed, Zusia began to cry uncontrollably, and his students and his disciples tried hard to comfort him. They said, "Rabbi, why do you weep? You are almost as wise as Moses, and you are almost as hospitable as Abraham. Surely heaven will judge you favorably." Zusia answered his students saying, "It is true. When I get to heaven, I won't worry so much if God asks me, 'Zusia, why were you not more like Abraham?' or 'Zusia, why were you not more like Moses?' I know I would be able to answer those questions. After all, I was not given the righteousness of Abraham or the faith of Moses, but I tried to be both hospitable and thoughtful. But what will I say when God asks me, Zusia, why were you not more like Zusia? One of the most precious gifts that we can hope for is the peace of knowing that we were able to grow into the most honest, authentic, truest version of ourselves, that the acorn of our potential is able to burgeon. We do not know what the next day brings, only that in every moment we have a choice to live in the fullness of gratitude, to see gifts, opportunity, possibility, that healing is possible, that growing is possible, and that the wildest dreams you can imagine can come true. And while we cannot see him and we cannot touch his hand or see his smile, we can dream and work and listen and love and become even more than we are in this very moment, just as he did. We can reach beyond the pain and the grief and allow the memory of who he was and that he lived such a beautiful life to move us to uncover more of our truest selves, more of who we are meant to be. In allowing himself to become his truest Kendall, Kendall lived more in his precious fleeting decades than some do in 3 times as many years. His life is a true inspiration. We take a few moments for silent prayer and reflection and time to think of Kendall. Please rise for the words of the memorial prayer. El male rachamim, shochein bameromim, hametzei menucha nechona, תחת כנפי השכינה, עם קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע, מזהירים את נשמת קנדל היקיר שלנו, שהלך לעולמו. בעל הרחמים, יסירהו בסתר כנפיו לעולמים, ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר Amen. God of abundant mercy, God most high, may the soul of our dear one who has gone into eternity find the gift of perfect peace in your embrace, together with the holy and pure, whose light shines like the radiance of heaven. Compassionate God, hold him close to you forever, so that his soul may be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May he find a home with you, and may he rest in peace. Together we say, Amen. It is our custom to ensure that mourners do not walk the path of grief and loss alone, to surround the family with love more than once, going onward. And the family will gather again tomorrow night for a Shiva Minyan, another service of comfort here. And that service will be led by Rabbi Erdheim at 7 p.m. tomorrow evening. Additionally, all are welcome to attend a barbecue in celebration of Kendall's life tonight at 5 p.m. at Sweet Lou's Barbecue, 923 Belmont Avenue. Our final prayer is the Mourner's Kaddish. These ancient words are written in Aramaic, which was the vernacular, the language accessible to all in the time in which it was written. Today, very few of us understand these words. Rather, we are carried away by the soothing rhythm of the sounds as a mantra almost as they wash over us, smoothing the cracks in our broken hearts. Those who mourn are often surprised to learn that the words don't speak at all of death. Rather, they are words of praise. This is tradition's way of reminding us that even though we are so very brokenhearted, that there is a life beyond grief, that there is a great, big, wide world, so much that is so better because Kendall lived, and that those who loved him dearly are meant to sow his memory into their souls and go on living. If you'd like to open your prayer books, they're underneath the seats. The words of the prayer on page 598. I know for many they're committed to memory, so that is an offer, not an obligation. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, ve'alma divarach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lamei almaya. Yit barach v'yit tabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit romam v'yit naseh v'yit hadar v'yit aleh v'yit halal shemei d'kudsha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'miran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya v'chaim alenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, alenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, alenu